So Stephen, age 3, hugged and kissed his mom goodnight. And he said, I love you so much. When you die, I'm going to bury you outside my bedroom window. Brittany, age 4, had an earache, and she knew that her mom, would give her an aspirin, and so she went and got the aspirin. She couldn't get the top off the aspirin, and she took it to her mom, and her mom explained it's a child-proof cap, and that she'd have to open it for her. And eyes wide with wonder, Brittany said, how does it know it's me? And Danny, age 4, stepped on the bathroom scale and said, how much do I cost? Continuing our series on the book E Squared. The book's purpose is to teach us that there is an invisible field, an energy field, an energy force of infinite possibilities. And that you and I impact this field and we draw from it according to our beliefs and our expectations. The universe is limitless, abundant, and strangely accommodating. And this week's lesson is particularly about this one piece, that our connection to this field will always provide us with instant, accurate, and unlimited guidance. And so, Lloyd, when you did the meditation this morning, I loved what you said. I had a talk, but I've been making notes all morning. Go figure. So, what you said, it's not that we hear the still voice, that we physically hear the still voice, it's that we know. That's what the still voice inside of you is. It is a knowing. And I had never thought about how many people might still be waiting to hear a voice. Now, I don't want to discount you if you've heard a voice. There's been a time or two I've heard a voice. But that's not what that internal guidance, that's not how it usually comes. You and I always are receiving guidance, and it comes to us in the form of what we call our intuition. And I don't know about you, but has there ever been a time when you've said, I should have listened? We had the feeling we shouldn't do something, or we shouldn't, and we did it anyway. Have you ever said, I knew I shouldn't have trusted that person? Your intuition told you, but you ignored it. And most people think that our intuition is just a hunch that we get every now and then. But I want to tell you that intuition is way more than that. It's a sophisticated system that allows us to know more than we can know than from our 5 senses. It's really our 6th sense. And I believe it's a spiritual sense. And I believe that we all have it. We just don't always pay attention to it. recently at the Psychic Hotline in the Psychic Friends Network, a frog called in and he wanted to know about his future. And the psychic told him, "You're going to meet the most beautiful young woman." And the frog gets all excited. I am? How am I going to meet her? Where am I going to meet her? I'm going to meet her at a party or what? And the psychic says, no, not at a party. You're going to meet her next semester in her biology class. Intuition. In the chapter in the book, there's a quote from Carl Jung. He says that one of the main functions of formalized religion is to protect people against a direct experience of God. That's pretty pointed, isn't it? And yet, even in formalized religions, people have been having direct experiences of God. And sometimes people's direct experience of God is so profound that it changes their lives. And they go along to write books about it and to live lives that books are written about. But Jesus taught us that to go into our closet and shut the door and pray to your God in secret, and the Father that seeth in secret will reward you openly. And he added that your Father knows what you need before you need it. That's from Matthew 5:6-8. Unity was co-founded by Charles and Myrtle Fillmore. Myrtle Fillmore had, through prayer and meditation, had a healing. And Charles was an intellectual person. He was a guy. And he said, I've got to be able to prove this. If this works, I've got to be able to prove it. And so he decided he was going to go to headquarters. And he went to headquarters every night. What time? Does anybody know? 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. It was a time. He would sit down for an hour every night and meditate. And what he found happening is that he did not get, that's my phone. Let me remind myself to turn my phone off. Oh my gosh, how embarrassing. Go away. It will go away. It will go away. I remember taking it out of my purse to turn it off.
You thought you did.
Yeah, but I didn't. At any rate, what Charles Fillmore found out is that he started having insights and intuition about things in his business. You know, they would come to him in dreams, or he'd be sitting in a meeting and he'd get a feeling that he ought to do something. And as he paid attention to his dreams and as he paid attention to his feelings, he got guidance that made him money. And so, you know, it took him a while, but finally he put the two and two together. Oh, it's the meditation that has brought this on. And out of that grew this movement we call Unity, that's all about this teaching of prayer and meditation as a way to have a direct access to God. God, we say God is omniscient. God is all-knowing. The field, the physics say this field is all-knowing. And so what the physicists call the field, we term God. But what's happened is, finally, Our scientists are explaining science in the same terms that we're explaining spirituality. And what a relief. That means that our children won't have to ask those questions that we ask. Dr. Emily Cady wrote a book that's a basic unity book called Lessons in Truth. And she said in this book, each one of us, sooner or later, must learn to stand alone with our God. Nothing else matters. There comes a point in your life where you need to go inside and get clear with God. We can go inside and say, God, what is the truth of this? We can read any book, whether it's our beloved Bible, whether it's E Squared, whether it's any of the hundreds of books that I have on my Kindle. Whatever there is, I can go inside, I can read something and I can go inside and I can say, is that true? And if I am still, there'll come that feeling, that knowing, that's pretty true. Or Beth, maybe you want to rethink that. Get that message. The knowledge that our physicists have come up with, the things that they've learned about the universe at the subatomic level, is just taking quantum leaps from where the old Newtonian way of thinking. And so you and I are left up to taking quantum leaps in our spiritual beliefs and in our understanding of religion and psychology, so that we can respond in new ways. The CEO of Unity Headquarters, the place where Daily Word is published, is Charlotte Shelton, and she's been here to speak. She's a great speaker, and we will have her back when we move into our new building. I think that would be a great thing to do. She wrote a book called Quantum Leaps, 7 Skills for Workplace Recreation. And she talks about inner knowing in her book, and she calls it quantum knowing. You and I can know things that is beyond our ability to know. Take a deep breath. Just think for yourself. I live in an intangible, invisible network of knowledge, and I can know things without studying. I can know things without reading about it. How does that feel? Doesn't that make you feel more hopeful? In the book, Living in the Light, Shakti Gawain wrote, most of us are in touch with our intuition whether we know it or not. But we're usually in the habit of doubting it or contradicting it so automatically that we don't even know it is spoken. The first step that we have to do is to pay more attention to what we feel inside, to the inner dialogue that kind of bubbles up. You know, Mozart talked about his beautiful musical compositions, and he said, when and how they come, I don't know. I have nothing to do with it. The author of Lonesome Dove, Larry McMurtry, said, it is like the stories are facts to me across the void. They've learned to accept that that creativity will come to them. So each week we've done experiments to prove those things to us. couple of weeks ago, we did an experiment to prove that we could open up our vision and look for things that we didn't think would happen. Vashti, you want to tell about it? About your experience? You do. I've got one right here.
This was the car experiment, and I've looked for many color cars in my life, so I thought it's a little too easy for me. I'm going to try something really hard. So I chose a blue car with pink polka dots. And I said to my son during that week, I'm going to see it in the Home Depot parking lot. I'm going to see the blue car with pink polka dots. And he said, blue car with pink polka dots in the Home Depot parking lot? Good luck, Mom. So I didn't see it that week. But this past week on Monday, I went to the dry cleaners, which has the same parking lot, dropped off my dry cleaning, and when I pulled in, the car in front of me was this car, but can you see the other picture? Blue car with pink polka dots. I think that's a winner. I couldn't believe it.
Thank you. So the point of these experiments is for us to learn these lessons sort of in our gut. Will you doubt again? No. No, you won't. You got goosebumps. So last week our experiment was to make a demand on the universe. Did anybody do that and have a result that they want to share?
I asked God for a very specific piece of a headpiece for, well, it's kind of technical. A very important machine that I have became unusable because of this little missing plastic. Now, I asked God for an answer, and I also asked God specifically for a headset that fits, that holds this in someone's ear. The first part's been totally answered. I've got a working solution. I had a patient and used it. It was successful. I'll be using it again on Monday. The second part, I'm still waiting for that exact answer.
Great. Anybody else ask for something that they want to report on? Oh, Jessica, I'm sorry, I didn't see your hand.
I'm in the middle of my second year of college, and I kept deciding what I wanted to major in. I'd flop back and forth, and I'm in a chemistry class right now, and I'm okay at chemistry or whatever, and I always liked science in general, and I was like, maybe biochemistry, maybe whatever. And this last weekend, I went to a paintball game, and a guy on my paintball team is actually a chemist, and he and I talked about it for a little while, and talked to me about internships and different things like that, because he's like kind of higher up on the chemistry field. So I picked my major, and I'm majoring in chemistry, and by the time I get to Tallahassee, I might have an internship with him. So.
I asked God for clear answers with my health. And when I went to the chiropractor after my car accident, he actually ended up having a meeting and said, let's talk and let's really talk this out. And we did. And then I had 2 operations this last week. And the second one ended up being a little more extensive than we thought, but everything got removed, and I know that was the right thing, and I got clear answers.
Great. So what I see is there was a crossover between last week and this week. Some people were asking for the thing, and that's what we were asking for a concrete thing. Jim.
Some of you may have noticed the scar on my face. I had a little skin cancer removed back on the 27th, I think it was. Anyhow, it was just a minor surgery, but as the saying goes, no surgery's minor. And I wasn't scared, but I just got nervous. I got jumpy about it. And I said to God, God, I know that you in your infinite love and wisdom can help me to be calm and get through this. And I said, but I said, you've done it before, and if you could loan me an angel, I would really appreciate it. And got called back to the room so the doctor so they could start on me. And all of a sudden, this warm, wonderful, calm feeling came over me. And I got through it just fine. If you can talk about lying on the table while the doctor cuts on your face, but between the angel and the doctor with his syringes full of Novocaine, I got through it just fine with God's help.
Great. Thank you. I think that Suzette left us a little video. She had someone in her, she had a death and she had to go pick up somebody at the airport. And I asked her to make a little video of her results. Did she give you a video?
On the 29th of October, I filled out my Abracadabra Lab sheet and I set the intention for someone to purchase my home at a fair price. I said, I think $150,000 is fair. Don't you, God? And then, on the 31st of October, at 6:57 p.m., the offer came in. It was $155,000 minus $4,800 buyer's closing costs. That means I sold my home for $150,200. I couldn't believe it. I was so excited I was calling people at midnight to let them know what happened. I set the intention, and I made it happen. Thank you, God. I did it, and you can too.
The reason I'm asking people to share their experiences is that I recognize that we're handing you these lab sheets out, and not many of you are telling me that you did them. And I want to encourage you to do the experiment, to expect to get an answer, to expect. This week's lab sheet is you ask for some guidance. The principle is inner guidance is constantly available. The theory is your connection to the field provides accurate and unlimited guidance. The question, is it really possible to get ongoing immediate guidance? The hypothesis is, if I ask for guidance, I will get a clear answer to the following yes or no question. And she's asking you for use a yes or no question for the experiment. You can get all sides of guidance. You can get the guidance about what your major should be. But think of something in your life that you need yes or no about. Time required 48 hours. And then you say, all right, here goes. Inner guidance, I need to know the answer to this question. You got 48 hours. Make it snappy. Our intuition will always work, and that's how your guidance will come, as intuition. It might show up in a strange way, so be open to that. Do not think that you have to have a billboard that says yes or no. It could be a feeling of yes or no. It could be someone telling you something that clarifies it for you. One of the stories in the book that I love about intuition is about Jamie Lee Curtis. When she was 25 years old, she had a friend over, and her friend bought a copy of the Rolling Stone magazine with her, and they opened it up, and she looked at a picture, and there were 3 guys in the picture, and she pointed to one of the guys, and she said, I don't know who he is, but I'm going to marry him. His name was Christopher, and I can't read my writing. Guest. Thank you. He had starred in the movie This Is Spinal Tap. And what she said is that she called the producer of Spinal Tap and asked him to have Christopher Guest call her. He didn't call. She said she was at a restaurant, and she saw him a table away, and he looked over and kind of smiled at her like, yeah, I know you wanted me to call. And he got up and left, the little wave. But later he called her and asked her for a date. And in, I think it was 8 months, they were married. She had an intuition and she followed it. Turned out to be the right thing. So I'm going to encourage you to ask that yes or no question, and so you know for yourself that this works, because if you use it on something small today, or it could be large today, and you get the answer, think about how neat that's going to be on the day that comes when you need an answer and you're dithering. You can stop and say, oh, I can give it over to God. What happens to us is that our left side of our brain, the left side of the brain, is good for identifying a problem, and it's good for setting goals. But what happens is once we identify a problem and set a goal, my problem is I don't have that little plastic, whatever that piece is. My goal is to get a piece that'll hold it, not only get that piece to work, but get something to hold it in place. Not only does our left side of our brain do that, it then starts yammering. Well, maybe I ought to call this person, maybe I ought to do this. Oh, that can't happen. Well, why? God never works. Oh, this stuff is baloney. That's what this side of the brain says. What you and I have to learn is that we can tell God, the universe, to give us an answer, and we can step back, step out of all that stuff going on and on and on and on. Do any of y'all know about that stuff that goes on and on and on and on, goes round and round? That we can step out of that and trust that we will get our answer. It's a very simple experiment. It doesn't require you to get coat hangers. If you haven't done any of the other experiments, let me encourage you to do this one, because it could provide you with so much peace in your life. And the way you will know that your answer is the right answer and that it came from God, it came from the universe, that it came from within, is that you will have a feeling of peace, a knowing, a feeling of being sure. Whereas, when you get that answer from up here, there is always that anxiety that goes with it. It might not be right. Trust the process. Write your question down. Wait for your answer. She says 48 hours. I hope that it comes in 24 hours. But even if the answer comes in 48 hours and 30 minutes, it is a lesson that each one of us needs to learn about how clear and how constant and how loving God is. Prove that for yourself this week. Have a great week.